All right, in this video, we're going to focus on correlation and actually how to calculate it using your calculator and or Google Sheets. So let's start with your calculator first. So here is an example of data that we have here. We actually worked with this data earlier when we made a scatter plot. But now we want to use the calculator to help us find the correlation between this data. So remember, these were the weights and the gas mileage for cars. So to get your calculator to give you the correlation, which represents the relationship here, the first thing we have to do is go to our calculator and hit Stat, Edit, and enter the data in. All right, so I entered all of the weights into list 1 and the corresponding miles per gallon into list 2. As mentioned before, all of these values are related, right? This is bivariate data. The top row represents a car that weighed 2,200 pounds and had 33 miles per gallon. So when you go to your calculator, those numbers have to be next to each other, or else this is not going to work out correctly. Now, let me remind you, correlation is only used to measure the strength and the relationship of linear data. So it is always smart before you find correlation. I know that's what the point of this video is, to show you how to find correlation. But it is important to understand to just make sure your data looks somewhat linear real quick. So I'm going to quickly remind you how to make a scatter plot. You're going to go to second y equals. Go to plot 1, make sure it's turned on. Highlight the very first graph here that looks like a little scatter plot. Make sure your X list is L1 where the weights are, and your Y list is list 2 where the gas mileages are. And I don't really care what kind of dots you use. From there, we're going to go, we can exit out of there once you get all that set up. And then remember Zoom 9. Zoom 9 is Zoom Stat that actually zooms in on anything that we put into the statistics feature of the calculator. So Zoom Stat, number 9. All right, so yeah, looks pretty linear. So I think finding correlation is going to be a pretty good idea here to actually measure the strength of this relationship. All right, so how do we get correlation? It's actually really, really easy, but I got to make sure something's done first. So please hit Mode, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and first off, Stat Wizard should be on. We actually covered that in class. But also right above that is Stat Diagnostics. Please make sure that is on as well. Most of you probably have it turned off. If it's turned off, don't ask me why, but you won't get correlation. It's a really strange thing, but unless that's turned on, calculator will not find correlation for you. All right, once that's turned on, you can go back to the home screen. All you can do is hit Stat, slide over to Calculate, and we're going to scroll all the way down to number 8, which is LINREG, stands for linear regression, A plus BX. Now, if you look at number 4 looks very similar, but it's AX plus B. Well, that's not how we want it. We want A plus BX, and we'll explain more about that in the next couple videos. But right now, just keep in mind, to get correlation, it's number 8, linear regression. So again, Stat, slide over to Calc, number 8. Make sure your X list is your weights, where we put the data, the L1. The Y list is where we put our data for gas mileage, list 2. Now again, if for some reason those aren't there, like let's just say that it was gone, nothing was there, remember to get list 1, you hit second, number 1. And after all that's checked, make sure nothing goes in frequency list. Don't worry about storing REG, EQ. Just go straight down to Calculate, hit Enter, and you will see R is at the very, very bottom of the screen. Now, there's a couple other numbers on this screen that we will talk about in later videos, but for right now, the only one you care about is correlation. So negative 0.97. Again, that actually makes sense. If we go back to the scatter plot here, it is clearly negative, and 0.97 is really, really, really strong. And we kind of knew that from looking at the scatter plot, that this was going to be a very strong linear relationship between these two variables. All right, what about in Google Sheets? All right. So if we have a Google Sheet here, this is the same one we saw in a previous video. We have our car weights, same car weights as we just saw, and our gas mileage. Now, in the previous video, I showed you how to make a scatter plot. This is all nice and beautiful, but I'm actually going to move that scatter plot to the side for a second. To calculate correlation, just, find an open cell and go Insert, go all the way down to Function, and then slide over to Statistical. All right, sometimes you got to scroll through it, but this is, there's lots of different things your Google Sheets could do. So we got to go Function, Statistical, and in here you're going to go to C for correlation, and you'll see it right there, CORREL, short for correlation. Hit Enter on that. All right, now we need two things. We need to give the two lists of data, right? We got to do it separately. So I'm going to do the X's first. I'm going to select all of the X data. It's going to automatically go in there. It's going to say it's using cell A2 through cell A13. Then I need a comma, and now I need my Y data. So I'm going to go and select my gas mileages, which is going to be B2 through B through 13. And once that's all done, hit enter, and boom, there is your correlation. Same correlation our calculator gave us, negative 0.97. Again, negative and very, very strong. So I'm going to walk through that one more time just because it was kind of quick. Even though this is a video, you can easily rewind. But insert, function, statistical, find in alphabetical order, CORREL. It's going to create 2 parentheses here for you. You need, don't accidentally select the title, car weight, because it's not going to understand that because that's not a number. Select the X's, and then you need to type in a comma. Select the Y's, and then once that's done, just go ahead and hit enter, and boom, it'll give you the correlation for you. So pretty cool feature. Pretty nice. Easy to do to find the correlation. Again, do not mess around with that ugly formula for correlation. All right? Hope you now know how to find correlation on your calculator and or Google Sheets.